Adventures in Colorectal Cancer, 2026, May 27th. So yesterday, 2026, May 26th, I went in to see the oncologist. Burnaby Hospital has its own little oncology clinic, so he's there. So I go in, fill the standard sort of paperwork, blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden, my phone rings. And it's, again, an unknown number. Okay, so no idea who this is. And so I answer it. And I really wish these guys would quit doing that. I don't know if they can actually put it in. Anyway, it's the office of Dr. Okamura. Okay, to remind me of my Friday appointment. I said, Friday appointment? Yes, you have an appointment with the colorectal surgeon on Friday. I wasn't aware of this. So apparently someone had made an appointment with me for this Friday for the colorectal surgeon and then forgot to tell me. Okay, so like I said, I've been warned about this. The doctors technically are really good, but the bureaucracy really sucks. Okay, it's okay. So Friday I've got this appointment. So Dr. Taylor comes out, calls me in. I give him the standard, ground rules. My parents are 90 years old. If you're going to gut me like a fish and put me in a colostomy bag for the rest of my life, I'm going to want to move there and have that operation there with my parents around, as opposed to having it here. Okay, so we're talking. So I got a bunch of questions. And he says, well, this is a little early to see me. I said, well, why? He said, well, because your CT scan isn't available yet. And I'm going but when the person called me to make this appointment, I raised that concern that this was less than 24 hours after my CT scan. Is that appropriate? And she assured me that it was. And he says, well, it's a little early. And it turns out he is the medical oncologist, i.e. the chemotherapy oncologist, not the radiology oncologist. I'm going, what's the difference? He said, well, if we're going to give you chemo, you come to see me. If you're going to give you radiation, you go see a different guy. Okay. He said, but I don't know how big or where the tumor is, or even if you have a tumor that needs to have chemotherapy. I'm thinking well, why am I even here then? So we talk about it. I said, well, okay, but it's a level 2, right? And I said, if I understand it correctly, 1 is it's not in the lymph system, 3 is it's in the lymph system, and 2 is everything in between. He says, well, not really. He says level is how far they think the cancer has penetrated the intestinal wall. It's not a stage. And going, so there's a difference between a level and a stage? He says, yes, I don't use level because, I'm looking at what stage it is, and we don't know what stage it is. I'm going, what do you mean you don't know what stage this is? Isn't that kind of important to know what stage this is? He said, no, yes, it is. And so I'm going to order more tests. I'm going and I'm thinking, well, that means that initial tests were incomplete. Because you don't know what stage this cancer is. And you're kind of unsure how far it's penetrated. What the fuck is going on? Being polite, I've got my polite pants on today. And he said, well, yeah, but we'll have to sort that out once we get the CT scan. Okay, fine. And so he gets me up and he lays me on the bed and he pokes around. So the colon comes up the right side of the rib cage, across the bottom of the rib cage. then down the left side of the rib cage across, then the sigmoid comes across the bottom of the hips and then makes the turn down into the rectum. And so we're talking, and I tell him about, my friend that, went from this diagnosis, a polyp in her rectum, to dead in 3 surgeries in 2 years. I said, like, I'm a little sensitive. He says, well, you should be. I said, this is serious. It wouldn't be, it's different if it was in the colon. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's polyps in the rectum are more serious than polyps in the colon. It's a more serious surgery. He said, he says, and he looked up the colonoscopy report. He says, yes, this is, 15 centimeters from your mid rectum, 15 centimeters from your anus. Now, there's been something bothering me about that statement for a while, and it finally dawned on me. If my middle of my rectum is 15 centimeters from my anus, that means my whole rectum is 30 centimeters long. So the top of my rectum is at the bottom of my liver. Like, what? So like now I don't even know where they took this polyp from. If it was 15 centimeters from my anus, i.e. the top of my rectum, or the middle of my rectum, which would be 75 or 7.5 centimeters. So just more questions. So for reference, let's see if we can do this. The distance from here to here is 20 centimeters. So like the distance from here to here is 15 centimeters, which is about right, because that puts it, puts from my anus to where it makes the turn in the sigmoid at the top of my hips. 30 centimeters is like from here to here, because like this is 100 centimeters. So like, it's just like, that's literally the top of oh. So what did we learn? What did I learn from this trip? Well, not a lot, really. There's a difference between the Kikuchi level, how far it's penetrated the wall, and and the stage of cancer, how serious the cancer is. If a doctor is going to review the CT scan 24 hours after it's taken, that's not possible. And yeah, it's just a mess. So basically, I met the guy that if I happen to need chemo because I have a big tumor someplace, is going to give me the chemo. Unless I need radiology, then it's going to be a totally different guy. So it's just like, anyway, see the surgeon on Friday. So making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.